Yes, good morning students. We are going to continue with the electric potential second part. First part we have already discussed. In the first part we have discussed about the electric potential. We have discussed about the electric potential difference. Of course, you are aware of electric potential. It is the work done in bringing a unit positive charge from infinity to the given point where I want to see the electric potential. Of course, in the presence of electric field. While the electric potential difference is the work done in bringing a unit positive charge from one point to another, again in the presence of electric field we are bringing. Today our objective is to study the electric potential due to electric dipole. We want to find due to the spherical shell, and we wish to study about the equipotential surfaces also. So to begin with electric potential we want to find due to an electric dipole, and of course you are aware of electric dipole. It consists of two equal and opposite charges which are separated by a small distance. Earlier we took this small distance AB equals to 2A, so same we are taking here also. So whenever I have to find any distance for a given point, I will be taking from the center of AB and let this point be O point. So OA, it is equals to OB, which is equals to A only. I want to find the electric potential due to this electric dipole AB at a given point P. We are finding at any point, general point, and then we can always find the results on the axial line, on the equatorial line. That is your choice. You may find it separately or you may take the special cases of this general case. So we are taking the general case and we will be taking that as the special cases. But of course, if in the exam it is coming, it is your choice. Whatever method you find convenient, you can go with that. You can work out with the things accordingly. Now what it is, I have taken P point anywhere. It means it is neither on the axial line nor on the equatorial line, because axial line, you know, it is the line which is passing through the axis of this dipole, and equatorial is perpendicular to that. So this is not perpendicular, not on the axial line. So we have taken any general point. So we are supposing that let OP is making an angle theta with the dipole movement. Of course, you are aware of dipole movement is always pointing from negative to positive charge. So it is pointing towards AB. It is pointing towards AB, and you know that if because otherwise this dipole is very small distance is there. Between the A and B point the distance is quite small, but we are showing enough large distance just to make the things clear with you. This is actually dipole, ideal dipole is a very short size. So we are drawing the perpendiculars on this line OP from B point which is meeting it at N point, and similarly we are drawing from A point which is meeting at M point. If I extend this line OP, then I can find the value of ON, because this is the perpendicular, 90-degree angle is there. So you can find the value of cos theta, which will be equals to ON divided by yours this value OB, which is equals to A. So you can find ON or OM, which comes out to be same, because if this angle is theta, this angle is also theta. So which is coming out to be equals to A cos theta. So now what you have to do is you have to find the potential. Our aim is to find the potential at this point P point. So what we have to do is potential at point P due to negative charge as well as due to positive charge we have to add using the superposition principle. But of course you are aware of that potential is a scalar quantity, so it is to be done in the algebraic method only, V1 plus V2. But potential can be positive, can be negative depending upon the value of charge. So here at A point I am having the negative charge, at B point I am having the positive charge. So because of negative charge, I will be putting the value in the negative terms. And for this, you know the formula for potential, that is equals to kq upon r. We have already derived in the previous class. So you can take the value of r, which is r1 for A and r2 for B. So for positive charge, the distance is r2. For negative charge, the distance is r1. And you can put the value of r1 and r2. Of course, r1 will be equals to mp, nearly same, ap it is equals to nearly same as mp. So you can write the value of mp, which is equals to oa plus mp, which is equals to yours mo plus op, which is equals to r plus a cos theta. Similarly, you can find the value of r2, which is equals to r minus a cos theta. And if you put the value of r1 and r2 in this expression, then you can find the value of potential simply by solving. You will be getting the values which is coming out to be, your kq can be taken out, and this in the denominator you will be getting r square minus a square cos square theta, and in numerator you are getting r plus a cos theta minus r plus a cos theta. So you are getting r and r is getting cancelled, so you will be getting this as 2a cos theta, and in the denominator this is the value, but the dipole you know is very small, so this value r is quite large as compared to a. So we can ignore the value of a here in comparison to r for the short dipole, and of course you can put the value for dipole moment, which is equals to q into 2a. So in this expression, q into 2a you can put equals to p, or even you may leave the results this way also, no problem. But when you have to write here, you are getting p dot r cap. R cap is showing you the direction of the dipole moment only, and we are getting it as the dot product of two quantities. Being the dot product of two quantities, this potential is a scalar quantity. This is another way to prove that electric potential is a scalar quantity, being the dot product of two vectors. Now you can take the special cases. If the point P is lying on the axial line, then of course theta is 0 or 180 degree. So cos 0 will be equals to 1. So this you will be getting as the maximum value. It means Kp upon r square. And if you are taking it on the equatorial line, then theta is 90, and when theta is 90, then potential will be equals to 0. So it means, of course you can compare the results with the electric field. When you have done electric field due to the electric dipole, then we were getting E in both the cases inversely proportional to r cube. But here the difference is that there is no potential on the equatorial line, but potential is maximum on the axial line. So this you can even mathematically prove by taking it on the axial line, on the equatorial line separately also, if you wish to do. This is again just to revise your previous knowledge. The same way as we have done the electric potential due to continuous charge distribution, we can be asked to write electric potential also due to continuous charge distribution. It means I am having the charge distributed along the line, then I have to take lambda, which is your linear charge density. If it is distributed about the surface, then we have to talk about the sigma, which is surface charge density, and if we are talking it is distributed about the volume, then we have to replace it by rho, which is volume charge density. So you have to, of course the general point you know, and from there only you can write for the continuous charge distribution, or you can write from the knowledge of your electric field also, because we have proved E equals to minus dV upon dr. So in place of r square, I will be getting here only r in the denominator if I compare with the electric field. Again, if I want to write due to the general source, then I have to write potential due to the continuous charge distribution, and due to the discrete also, discrete charges. Then again you can write the results like this: 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, or simply K, which is the electrostatic constant. You can write it outside, integral of over the volume for rho dV upon R, plus integral over the surface sigma ds upon R, plus integral over the length lambda dl upon R, plus this is due to the discrete charges, which is equals to summation, number of charges are varying from 1 to n, it is qi upon ri. Now what happens in numericals, sometimes they don't give you the position distance in terms of the distance, rather they give you the coordinates, Cartesian coordinates in terms of x, y, z, etc. Then of course you have to put the values in terms of I cap, j cap, k cap, and you have to find this distance yourself. It means in place of r you have to calculate it by taking the displacement vector, then you have to put the value over there. It means they just want to check whether you are having the knowledge of the vectors or you don't have. So for that sake you should be able to do in case of numericals. So next topic with you is, I want to find the electric potential due to a uniformly charged spherical shell. This is the spherical shell which is on which there is positive charge uniformly distributed. We are supposing capital R as the radius of this shell and capital Q as the charge. That charge I can take small q also, depending upon that you will be writing the results. If supposingly I want to find the electric potential at a point which is outside this shell, at here where I am putting my pointer, at this point P point, if I want to find, then I have to of course draw the Gaussian surface, I have to find the electric field, and if I can find the electric field I can write the value of electric potential, which will be same as that of due to the point charge, because I can take that the whole charge is lying on the sphere will be acting as the point charge if my point P is lying far away from this spherical shell. If I am taking small q as the charge, then I can write V equals to q upon 4 pi epsilon naught small r, where small r will be the distance of the point P from the center, this distance, which is obviously greater than the radius r. And if here you want to write capital Q, if you are supposing capital Q as the charge, then you may write it yourself. If the point is on the surface of this shell, then of course this distance small r is to be replaced by the radius of that spherical shell, then the potential will be equals to q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r. And even if it is inside this spherical shell, the potential will remain constant because E is 0 inside. We have already studied the variation of E for a spherical shell with distance, and this is graphically shown the variation of potential with the distance. See, potential at the center as well as on the surface, it will remain the same, which is equals to q upon 4 pi epsilon naught capital R, but inside it is equals to q upon 4 pi epsilon naught small r. Of course 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught you can replace simply by k also if you wish to write it in terms of k. So that is how it is convenient for you people to write, you can always write. So this is the graph. If I am taking from the 0 point, I am taking 0 to r radius, it is constant, same value, which is equals to q upon 4 pi epsilon naught capital R, and if I go beyond this r, then the value is decreasing. So the same thing can be seen on the other side. It means this is on the right side and this is on the left side. If you are taking, then of course the value is symmetric and the graph can be drawn like this. This graph is simply to show the comparison of electric field due to the spherical shell and due to the potential, as we have done the graph plotting for the point charge also. Similarly, if you wish, you can do it for the dipole also. So that way you will be comfortably able to keep the things in your mind, that how the electric field and the potential are related and how the graphs are there different and what the graphs are depicting. So that way it will be comfortable with you. If first chapter is clear with you, then of course you can move very comfortably with the potential. we want to discuss about the equipotential surfaces. So what is an equipotential surface? That is any surface which has same electric potential at every point on it. That is known as equipotential surface. So we know at a distance r, if this is point charge with me, at this distance anywhere I go around this charge, I will be having the field is same, potential is also same. So this surface if I draw, which is having the same potential at every point, this surface will be termed as the equipotential surface. This diagram I have taken just to show you, these are the electric field lines which are of course moving outside, and of course at any point if I draw a sphere, that is giving me a surface which is known as equipotential surface. So if I have to define equipotential surface, then it is any surface which has same electric potential at every point on it. So for a single point charge, this is the derivation we have already done, that potential at any point is given by q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r. You may write here small r or capital R, that will be the distance from the point charge, and that distance you may take. And this is a combined diagram to showing you the field as well as the potential. But if you have to only draw for the potential, you can see potentials this way, it will be more clear I think to you. This is one surface, this is second surface, this is third surface, and you see how the gap is increasing. The similar diagram I gave you to show you the field and potential in the previous lecture also, where the sphere was region of the electric field was shown. And again if you go and see it back, you will be finding that the color is also changing. That color is changing to simply tell you about the equipotential surfaces or the potential at any point. Here you can see the surfaces are close as compared to this distance, and again the separation is getting increasing. It is getting increased when I am moving away from the charge. And of course equipotential surface through a point is always normal to the electric field lines at that point. It means this is actually a three-dimensional view, you should be able to understand, and then it is going to be perpendicular to the electric field lines. These surfaces are perpendicular to the electric field lines at that point. So these electric field and electric potential, they both are related with each other. This is the diagram showing you the equipotential surfaces for the uniform electric field. This is uniform electric field. These surfaces are drawn perpendicular to the field, equispaced. These are equispaced because that is simply showing that the field is uniform. Like for a point charge, it was not uniform. If I am moving away, the field was becoming weaker. So that is why the equipotential surfaces were not equally spaced, but now they are equally spaced, simply showing you that the electric field is uniform. And of course electric field is perpendicular to the equipotential surface, or I may say equipotential surfaces are normal to the electric field. So this is the three-dimensional view for the things. Similarly, if you wish, you can draw for the electric dipole where positive and negative charges, they are separated by the small distance. These are electric field lines, and the spheres which I have shown, these are showing you the equipotential surfaces. And of course you can see here the surfaces are closer on the inner side, and on the outer side they are apart, again showing you the strength of the electric field. So this way you have to take care while drawing the electric equipotential surfaces. You need to keep the electric field strength in your mind. Similarly, if you are willing to draw the equipotential surfaces due to the positive charge or due to two equal negative charges, again the similar thing will be coming, but only the direction of the field lines will be different. For positive charge it will be outward, for negative charge it is inward, but if you see the shape of the equipotential surfaces is coming nearly same way. Here the gap is more, here the gap is less. So where the strength is more, the gap will be less. Where the strength is weak, there the gap will be more. So you can write or you can understand the properties of the equipotential surfaces. Of course, whenever I am on the equipotential surface, no work is done in moving a charge over an equipotential surface. It means work done from moving from one point to another point is always 0. This is the relation for the potential difference. Work done equals to charge into the potential difference, which is coming out to be 0. So VA it is equals to VB. It means potential at every point on the equipotential surface is same. If you have to prove it, you can simply prove it by using this formula. Electric field is always perpendicular to the element dl of the equipotential surface. If I take a small element dl on the equipotential surface, then electric field is found to be perpendicular. Again, if it is not perpendicular, it means charges are not at rest, because then it will be having some component along the horizontal direction, as we have discussed in electric field. But if you want to prove here mathematically, this is the relation for the work done we have already done with the potential. With the electric field, it is equals to E dot dl, line integral of the electric field from one point to another point. So work done is 0, we have just proved. So if because electric field is not 0, so cos theta has to be 0. And for cos theta to be 0, theta should be equals to 90 degree, which is simply proving that electric field is always perpendicular to the element dl of the equipotential surface. Next property with you is that equipotential surfaces indicate the region of strong or weak electric field. This I have explained to you earlier also, because this is the relation E equals to minus dV by dr. So dr is inversely proportional to the electric field. If dV is constant, it means change in the potential is kept same, then distance has to be inversely proportional to the electric field. So if E is large, then dr should be small. So this can be asked in the numerical problems also. These all properties, different way they may frame the questions, and by finding the distance, by looking at the distance, you can always guess about the electric field. So more crowding means more strong the electric field is, and if the crowding is not there, then it means the field is weak. Next property is that no two equipotential surfaces can intersect each other, because if they are intersecting, then of course two value of the electric potential or electric field I can say, which is not possible. Of course, this point is to note that electric potential is a scalar quantity, while potential gradient is a vector quantity, because we have proved potential gradient is equals to electric field. So negative sign is simply showing that the rate of change of potential with distance is always decreasing or against that electric field intensity. This is an important point which should be noted by all of you, that electric potential is a scalar while potential gradient is a vector quantity, because potential gradient is giving me idea about the electric field. So it means what is the significance of the equipotential surfaces, that it is giving me the idea about the electric field and its direction also. By having the knowledge of electric potential, I can find the electric field and its direction as well. So all the things whatever we have done till now, electric field, electric flux, electric potential, all the things are very much related, and these are the things which has been found to just study the electric field or the electric force in a more comfortable way. So electric field is the important thing which we are getting with the help of electric potential. Let us discuss few questions with you. We are having the first question, that 2 point charges are here which are given the values q1 and q2. One is positive charge 15 into 10 to the minus 8 coulomb, and the other is negative charge minus 3 into 10 to the minus 8 coulomb. They are separated by a distance of 60 centimeter. You have to find at what distance from q2. This is q2, this is q1. This electric potential will be equals to 0. So we are supposing that let this distance is x from q2 for this point O. So total distance, if I call it as r, then this will be r minus x. And you can find, because we have to see the point where the electric potential is 0, it means sum of the potential is equals to 0. Being a scalar quantity, you have to see that sum of the potential equals to 0, no direction is there. So you can simply put the value from the superposition principle, that 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught is out, q1, and distance of O point from q1 is r minus x, plus q2 upon x, which is equals to 0. And you can put the values here, q1 x, it is equals to minus q2 into r minus x, and on solving you are getting this formula for x, which is equals to x equals to minus q2r upon q1 minus q2. You have to simply multiply and rearrange the things to get the value of x. Now q1, q2 and r, they are given in the question. So I can of course convert the distance of centimeter into meters, that is 16 × 10⁻² meters. q1, q2 are given in coulomb only, so I can put the values for q2, q1 and q2, but of course negative sign of q2 is also to be taken. So here in the numerator it will become positive sign, but in denominator it will be 15 minus of minus 3, it means 18. 18 into 10⁻⁸. So this 10⁻⁸ is getting cancelled, and I am left with 3 upon 18 into 60 into 10⁻². So I am getting 10 into 10⁻² meter, or I can say 10 centimeter. So for potential the question is quite simple, you need not go for the direction, because being the potential as a scalar quantity, simply add the potentials, take care of the sign of the charges whatever is given, and then only you work it out and you will be able to get the answer. Okay, next question is, two charged metallic spheres, they are kept apart by connecting with a thin wire. Of course this is a conducting wire, these are metallic spheres, it means these are conductors, but they are kept on the insulating stands, because if we are not keeping it on insulating stands, you all know charge will flow. So this is given in the diagram, and you have to find the final charge on the spheres and their common potential. So if we are supposing that q1 and q2 are the final charges, radii are r1 and r2 as shown in the diagram, and let q1 plus q2 equals to capital Q, that is the total charge, final charge on the spheres. And common potential, it means potential on both the spheres should be same. It means by the formula of the potential I can write 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 upon r1, which is equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q2 upon r2. So this 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught is getting cancelled on both sides. V1 equals to V2, potential for this sphere should be equals to potential due to the second sphere, and on solving you will be getting q1 upon r1, it is equals to q2 upon r2. And from this equation you can find the value of q2, which is equals to capital Q minus q1, and if I put this value of q2 here, that is equals to capital Q minus q1, then I am on multiplying, cross multiplication, this you are getting q1 r2 equals to r1 q minus q1 r1. This r1 will be multiplied with capital Q minus q1. So you can write it, you can work it out simply taking the value of q1 on one side, and you can find the result for q1. Similarly, if you wish, you can find the result for q2, and you can write the value of potential from any one of these two formulas, your choice. So whenever you will be writing the result, you are getting the same, which is coming out to be capital Q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r1 plus r2. And here this is just a way to demonstrate how the potential, and then later on we will be talking about the current, how the things will be related. So this way the knowledge of the potential is going to help you in the coming unit of current electricity, when we will be talking about the potential difference again, potential again. So all these things are very, very important for you. So keep things up to this. Thank you.